Hello guys, welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to walk through on basic steps on getting started with Git for your projects. So going to show you how to set up your project to accept GitHub or to work with GitHub. So by now, if you have not created your GitHub account, make sure that you create your GitHub account before joining this video tutorial. So first of all, we'll create a basic project. So just a project that is going to contain two files, a HTML file and another file. So I'll call it web git project. Okay, so just a simple folder. So I will just open it with VS Code. Okay, so let's wait for that to load up. Okay, so we have successfully opened our project to VS Code. So we are going to add some basic files to this our project. So we add, I'll just add like an index.html file. So we just put a simple document in it. So what I'm going to put there, I'll just put a h1 saying welcome to my awesome website. Cool. So this is just a basic HTML file. So I'll add another file here. Let me call it I'll call it readme.md. So readme.md is a markup language. Just a file for description. Okay, so you can find more, or you can Google that and find more about it. Okay, so I will just put something like this. I just say getting started with Git. Okay, so that's the only thing I'll put there. So I've added two files here, index.html and readme.md. So now what are we trying to achieve here? Okay, we want to make sure that this our project can work with Git, and we will be able to upload it to our GitHub repository online on our GitHub account. So actually what we are going to do first is to initialize our project to work with Git. So we have several commands that we can use to achieve that. So but before that, we have to make sure that we have installed Git on our system. So if you have not installed that, please let us know in the group chat so that we can walk you through on how to do that. But if you have already done that, congratulations, you are on board. So let's dive in deep. So as I have already installed Git on my system, so what is the next thing to do? So the next thing is to play with our terminal. Okay, so I'll open up my terminal. Okay, so my terminal is open. So I just use control backtick. Okay, backtick is located immediately below the escape key. So or you can come here on the menu bar and you can choose this, select this new terminal. Okay, so now since our terminal is open, so what are we going to do? So like I told you, we have several commands for this. So first of all, I told you we need to initialize our project to work with Git. So basically here our project doesn't know what Git is all about, so we need to make it to be aware. We need to set it up to recognize Git. So for us to do that, we have to pass a command we call git init. Okay, so after running that, we are going to get this message: initialize empty git repository in this directory here. So as you can see, this means that everything we are doing here is locally stored in our computer. So we have not started yet to work with the remote GitHub repository on our GitHub account. So if you look at the left pane here, you see that if you observed closely, we see that our files here changed color. They changed to green color with this letter U here. Okay, so this letter U means on track. So if you hover over your mouse on it, so you see this on tracked. Okay, yes, we have successfully initialized our project, but they are currently on tracked. On tracked means that as you can see, we created our project but it is empty, like this said initialize an empty git repository. Yes, so since we initialize an empty git repository, we need to add some things inside this our repository. So that's why this is showing untracked. So once we add them to our repository, you see that we will no longer see this untracked again. So anything that we need to be tracked needs to be added to the repository. So for us to do that, we have another command we call the git add. Okay, so we just say pass this command git add. Then the next parameter is there is the file that we want to add to our git repository. So like you see here, we have two files, the index.html and the readme.html. So which one do we want to add? But fortunately, we want to add both of them. Okay, so there are two ways to do that. You can choose to say git add, then the name of the file you want to add, so index.html, and you click enter. Boom, we have successfully added our index.html to our git repository. So if you look closely, our letter has changed from U to A. So what is A? If you hover over it, is index added. Cool. So our index has been added to our git repository that we have initialized. Okay, so now if you still look, we still have our readme.md untracked, so it has not been added. So we also need to add it to our git repository. So for us to do that, we need to do git add index git add readme.md. okay, you have to do git add readme.md and click enter. But yet I will not click enter. So what if we have like 50 files here? That means you are still going to be doing git add till we exhaust the 50 files. As you can see, that's going to be tedious. So we have a shortcut for that. You can simply say git add followed by a dot. So what this dot means is that add every files that are currently untracked. Okay, so it will add every file that we are not tracking here. So if you have like 100 files, to add all of them. So instead of adding them one by one, so when you want to add one is when you have a specific file that you want to add instead of the whole bunch of files. Okay, so we now click enter. So it has added that. So if you look at it now, our readme.md is now added to our git repository. So the letter has changed to A. Okay, so after that, then what next? We need to commit. Okay, so because we have added our our changes, our files to our git repository, but yet it has not been saved. Okay, so remember that anything that you change, you need to commit it. Okay, you need to save it. Okay, so after we have added all this into our git repository, we need to save it and tell git, yes, look at what we added and look at why we added it. Okay, so For that, we use another command that we call commit. Okay, git commit. So we now write git commit, then we now git commit minus m. We now put our quote. So inside here we are going to add our comments, like indicating what we added to our git repo, so the changes that we made. So I will just say git commit, I will just say added 2 files. Okay, added 2 files. So that's what I'm going to say. Okay, git commit minus m, added 2 files. Then I will now click enter. So successfully we have saved our commits. Okay, so we have saved those changes, all those stuff that we added to our git repository. So we have saved it using the git commit command. Okay, with our comment here. So you can put any comment based on what you actually changed. Okay, so this is very necessary in the future in case you want to track your project. Okay, so you can check when you committed it and the time you committed it and the changes that you made. Okay, so these commits will carry the timestamp and everything. Okay, so in case your project has a problem, so you will track when the project was working properly before you made the commit, and to properly manage your and troubleshoot your project. Okay, so now after we have committed, what is the next thing? So the next thing is to push our GitHub, push this repository to our remote repository. But before we do that, let's check the status here to check if there is anything that is left untracked. Okay, so there is another command that we call the git status. Okay, git status. So this git status will show you the status of your command, of your repository, whether there are things that you have not committed, whether there are files that are untracked. Okay, so you can use this to check the status of your repository before you commit it before you push it to your remote repository, which is located in your GitHub account. So say git status, click enter. So branch master, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So our everything is set, so we don't have any pending file here. Okay, so let me say I add another file, a text file, like I just call it normal. I just call it, let me call it test file dot txt. Okay, so I have added a new file here, test file.txt, and it's showing untracked because I have not added, I just created it. So let's check our git status again. Git status. Cool. So as you can see now, we are seeing something on branch master, untracked files. Okay, so it's telling us that we have not included this in our GitHub repo. Okay, so because I created this file newly, I have not even added it to our GitHub repo on our local machine here. So that's why once we check with git status, it will tell us that this file is currently untracked. So we need to add it and save it to our repository, just like we did in the other files. Okay, so you need to run your git status anytime before you push your project to GitHub. Okay, so make sure that you run that so that you see if there is any pending actions that you need to do that you have not done. Okay, so let's add this to our project, so to our repository. So we'll just say git add. Okay, I'll call it text, since we are adding only this file. Okay, test file dot txt. So I click enter. Cool, we have now added it to our repo. So let's still check our git status again. So git status. Okay, cool. Now, and if you have seen now, say on branch master, changes to be committed. Now if you look at the top here, when we created the file newly and we ran git status, it's telling us that we have untracked file. Okay, so now that we have added it using this commit to our desktop and we ran the git status again, we are now getting another thing here saying that on branch master changes to be committed. So this is telling you that any file that you add to the git, so you need to do what? Commit it. So that's why our status git status command is telling us that we have changes to be committed, so we need to commit it. Okay, so we now say git commit. Okay, I will say added a test file. Okay, I will now click enter. Sorry, my bad. So this is git then this flag -m. So I will now say added a test file. Okay, so I will now hit enter. So we have currently added this test file to our, we have currently committed it. So let's still check our git status again. So git status. Cool. So on branch master, nothing to commit, working tree clean. So everything is now clean. We have added our untracked files, we have committed every changes, so we are ready to push to GitHub. Okay, so now for us to push to our GitHub repo, now remember we have not created any remote repo. Okay, now like I told you, this is just local to our computer. This is only found in our computer. So what you want to do is that we want to push it to our remote repo that is found in our GitHub account. So we will head straight to our browser and open GitHub. Okay, so we are here now in our browser, so we need to open GitHub. Okay, so I open GitHub. Okay, so let's wait for that to load. Cool, so we have opened our GitHub. So this is my GitHub account. So I'll head to my repositories. Okay, so here is my repository. So I will create a new repository. So these are my repositories. So you see this green button here, you can use it to create your own repository. Okay, so we click this new button here. So now we need to provide a name for our repository. So I will call it okay, so let's use the same name like we have here. So web git project. So it's not necessary to use the same name, you can use any name here. So I'll just say web project, web git project. Okay, so we just use this. So we leave every other thing optional. We leave this public so that anyone on the internet can see this repository. You choose who can commit. Okay, so we go ahead and hit create repository. So let's wait for it to create. So cool, so we have successfully created our remote repository. Okay, so this is just a remote repository, while this one here is a local repository. So we want to connect this our local repository to our remote repository over here. Okay, so now we have just created a remote repository here, but it is empty here. Okay, so there is nothing inside our repository, so they are giving us some quick setup to follow in order to fill in something here. Okay, so now look at this, we have a link here. Okay, so to every project, every GitHub repo that you are going to create, there is going to be an associated URL for it. Okay, that points to your repository. You can share to people, collaborate, and do lots more with it. Okay, so that's a key or a part to your repo. So now we are going to follow this command here to push this our local repository here to our remote repository. Okay, so we are going to follow them one by one, but we have already done some of them, like the git init, git add, git commit. Okay, so the one we have not done is git branch. Okay, so we need to create a branch. So what is this branch? This branch is just like a subdivision. Okay, so in our GitHub repository we can have many branches. Okay, and these branches can mean like different versions of your web or mobile application, or any um, software or whatever. Okay, so these versions can live in different branches. Okay, so you have a main branch where everything can be included. So what I'm actually trying to say is that now there is a central place that contains the verified codes that are working perfectly. So every other branch is just like a checkpoint. Okay, so you push things to your other branches which you can later push to your main branch. Okay, so your main branch is just like the chief, it's just like the central repository. So other branches under it are where maybe if we are collaborating or we have other users who are trying to work in the same project, so they can be pushing their work to your branches. Then you can now later go to those branches, and if you see everything is working fine, you can now merge it to the master, which is the main branch. Okay, so that's actually what it means. So we are going to run this command in our git, in our local repository. So we'll come here and paste it. So I will say git branch, okay, -m. So this here is just this one here is the name of the branch. So you can use any name apart from this one they use here. This is just a sample. So I will change it to master. Okay, I will change it to master. This one is master. Okay, so I change it to master and hit enter. Okay, as you have seen now, we have created our branch. Okay, and we called it master. Okay, so let's look at the next command there. So the next command is this git remote add origin. So this one is what is going to actually connect this our local repository to this particular remote repository. Like I told you, this is the link. So this is the link that links this one and the remote repo here. Okay, so we are going to run this command in our local repository. Okay, so git remote add origin. Okay, so make sure that this link is the one that your repo is currently having. So make sure it's that, though at this particular place they provide exactly what it is. Okay, so once we paste it, we run this command. So currently the git remote this has been added, so our project has been connected. Okay, local repository has been connected to this remote repository. So the next thing we need to do is now push all this thing. So this, what this thing means, is just like a pipe. Okay, just like a pipe that we connected this our local repository to our remote repository, and now we are now ready to push everything here into this remote repository. Okay, so what is the next command there is to do what? Run this git push. Okay, git push. So we come to our local repository and press this. So git push dash u origin main. So this one is our branch. So remember we changed it to master. So we now say git push origin master. Okay, then we click enter. Okay, so here we will now wait for our project to successfully sync, okay, push to our remote repository over here. Okay, so as you can see, it is pushing. So let's see if this will be done. repository has been successfully pushed to our remote repository over here. So but we are not seeing the changes here. Okay, so we need to refresh our page in order to see that change. So let's refresh. Cool. So as you can see, we have successfully pushed our GitHub repository here, our local repository here. We have pushed it to our remote repository on our GitHub. Okay, so that's how you can connect your GitHub repository, okay, from your local repository here to your remote repository. So as you can see, the commit that I made, okay, I made it 15 minutes ago, and I added 2 files. Okay, so about 9 minutes ago I added this test file, so that's why I say added a test file 9 minutes ago. Okay, so this can help you to track when you added some files, okay, when you added changes, okay, so that you can actually help you in debugging. Okay, so that's how it's done. Okay, so and if you come to this code and click down here, you still see your project URL here. Okay, so that's the simple videos on how to do this. Okay, so in our next tutorial we are going to check how we can clone an already existing GitHub repository to our local machine and work with it and push them back. Okay, so just watch and go through this video and make sure that everything works well. So if you have any challenge, do let us know in the group chat so that we can render some help to you. And if you have any suggestions, so please also let us know. We can improve on that. So make sure that you followed everything correctly. So and don't fail to subscribe and like this video for more videos. Thank you very much, and God bless you.